I'm Commander Shepard, and you're listening to my favorite podcast on the Citadel, Raw Dogs, part of the Greenlit Podcast Network.
Dylan, you want to bring us in?
And welcome back to another episode of Raw Dogs. This is number...
I think this is 28. I don't know. This is the 1 year anniversary is what it is.
the 1 year anniversary.
I love it.
We're finally here.
What a happy, beautiful trip it's been.
Yes, it was this time last year. I was talking about Pokemon obsessively. Probably came off real good.
Hey, it's a great series.
It's been
truly is
too long since we've all gotten together.
Yeah, yes, I miss everyone.
I had a sick little cat. That
yes,
was fine. Had to
tell-
take care of him.
Tell the fans how Goblin is doing.
Goblin is fantastic. He had crystals in his pee. Apparently, this is a big problem with male cats. Never knew it. Make sure high moisture content in all of their food.
Now, if you find crystals in like a Final Fantasy game, that's a good thing.
Very good. Yeah.
Sometimes they're like dark crystals.
Which is also a pretty fun movie.
Oh my god. We're already
That was
here.
a leap.
All right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you talk about cat urine, I'm going to talk about the Dark Crystal eventually.
I like the movie fine.
I'm not against it.
We have the usual cast of characters here. This is Brad talking. It's so wonderful for you to be here. This is Raw Dogs, part of the Greenlit Podcast Network. Check out the other amazing shows. Who's this handsome gentleman to my left?
This is Nicholas Nellen speaking to you. I'm so happy that you could join us today.
I'm not even sure I knew that was your last name. Your name does sound like a Marvel character.
My name alliterates, and I also have two middle names, so I need to get knighted eventually.
You need or be an author of great fantasy works or something.
Yeah. Well,
What's the middle name?
One day.
What's one of the middle names?
The full name is Nicholas Sean Riley Nellen. Which a sir in front of that, just like
It's one of the most Irish sounding names I think I've ever heard.
that comes with the territory.
Yeah.
That comes with the territory.
And speaking of things I didn't know about Nick, we were going to record last week. We had to do it a different day, and you weren't able to join because you said your brother from Saudi was in town?
Yes, yeah. My brother lives in Saudi Arabia. He works for AECOM. He's an electrical engineer there.
Is he a Dubai boy?
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Boy.
Well, I believe he lived... I'm forgetting what city he lives in. This is how terrible of a brother I am.
Did he get here in his flying car?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's not fair that they have them. It is not fair.
Well, so they're really trying to keep that hush hush. So
Okay, well, I saw pictures. It's out. The goose is loose.
Back to the Future 2? Is that what you're talking about?
Sure, I guess.
which
Haven't we caught up to Back to the Future?
Yeah, I think that happened 5 years ago.
That was when the Cubs won the World Series. Actually.
They were close on that, and then Biff as president.
Pretty close.
Pretty close on a few
close.
things. And who's this across from me here?
And now, of course, I'm President Dylan, President-elect
the cutiest.
Dylan.
The transition has happened. Tom has granted the transition process over to Dylan.
You know how like Lion King like 0.5 or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like 45.5. And so I'll be president for a day in between there somewhere, but we don't know when that's going to happen. Not even I'm sure.
I look forward to it.
Well, I mean, if he gets Pence to pardon him, he'll actually be 47. But.
And speaking on the politics notes, there is 2 boxes in front of you two to commemorate the 1 year anniversary.
Oh my God. Anything. Are you serious?
Oh, that sounds good.
That terrible styrofoam.
I feel unprepared. Oh, no.
Okay. Oh, this is so sweet. Thank you.
This is fantastic. Oh, my God.
You did get one for yourself, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And, Tom and Dominic got theirs last week.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. We didn't talk about it on the show, but
this is absolutely the correct size mug for me.
The medium sized mug, more than a regular cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of every episode represented on that mug, and they will be available. If someone really wants one, reach out to the podcast. We can figure out a way to get them to you for a reasonable price.
This is beautiful.
1 year, guys. Congratulations.
That's a great one. Yeah, absolutely.
I will be a better friend next year.
Well, you weren't even on the podcast for the first
I don't know why I'm getting a mug.
3/4. Because you were here.
I'll have to make some cheese.
I'll take it. I will take it, and I will drink some coffee out of
There
it.
we go.
Right? It is beautiful. And
That is the right size. You're absolutely correct. Because
yeah.
some cups are just way too small.
The like 8-ounce cup.
I noticed a Target promotion with from Target Photo. I had 60% off, and it expired the same day, so I had to Photoshop this together pretty quick.
I mean, it looks good either way.
Yeah.
Wait, this is a rush job?
We should start.
Well,
we should start offering
it was
a
a
lot of our
fast job.
thumbnails on that. That'd be a good choice. Some sort of-
Yeah. Well, I want to get them onto tpublic.com because
That'd be cool.
they can put it onto anything. You just put up the image for them. But yes, welcome to Raw Dogs.
Fantastic.
Welcome.
And here's our executive producers, Mark Nenow, Brian Ward, Tyler Keller. I believe that's all of them. There's also
Allyson Smith,
Kate Conti, everyone else, all of you Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Before we get into the main topic, though, it's been a long time since we've all gotten together.
I miss your beautiful faces.
Thanks,
right?
buds.
I'm happy.
You think our voices are great. You should see our faces.
From semi-bearded to fully bearded
You know what's weird?
to stubble.
Tom has a beard right now.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw it.
Yeah,
the
I
other
got
day.
to see it.
Yeah.
That was a special moment.
How unprofessional! I'm telling his boss.
It's amazing. For a 60-year-old man,
God,
he looks 30 years old without a beard, but with a beard, he looks almost 40. So that's good for him,
I just didn't realize his hair was so red until it grew out like that.
right? Because he's always called himself a ginger. I'm like, I don't know if you're a ginger.
He always seemed.
You're
blonde.
the elderly, is what I
Yeah.
consider you.
He's all blue hair.
Nick, what have you been playing this past month?
Last month, oh my goodness.
Anything that you want to talk about?
Well, I got really jealous of you playing through P5, but I won't talk about that right now.
Because our next episode is a very Persona 5 Christmas.
I cannot wait.
I have not played this in 3 going on almost 4 years, so it's going to be very interesting for me.
It'll be a good group.
I'm gonna have to
it'll be
brush
fun.
up, but I can find enough stuff about it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Just watch YouTube videos. Don't just go straight to Makoto fan art.
Well, I find her like she's cute, but like she's not like like wow wee.
Yeah.
That's Ryuji.
It would be better to be in a relationship with her because she's like got her shit together.
And here is the sneak preview
is
of
queen.
this is the sneak preview of the
Okay.
Persona.
Yeah, this is all it's gonna be.
No more waifu
It's
talk.
literally gonna be talking about who we would date. We're so lame.
It's like, what do you guys do after school?
It's like
Fantasize. No, actually, I have been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That has been my my new flame recently. Ubisoft does the best job in the industry of giving you just all sorts of distractions, and that game just leans into my ADD. So like,
it makes me upset.
I can be sailing along, and then it's like, ooh, a raid. Time to go. So that has been my obsession. I haven't gotten very deep into the game, but I have also done a lot of work on my settlement because the game opens up and then lets you do what you want.
Well, I hear. Well, I mean, even these new Assassin's Creed games, they take like 3 times as long as.
They are
From 1 to 4, even.
they are massive.
Yeah, I can't. I
Like-
literally don't have the attention span, and I've gotten to the point where, and we'll talk about this more on like the Dogcast as well. Is that when these new releases come out now, I'm kind of a little jaded about it, almost to a point where it's just like, yeah, all right, another one of these, okay.
They've definitely not done anything to help them earn any favors here.
They're collectathons.
And I
They're-
think you're going to find at the end of the year that when we have to do our Game of the Year lists, that I'm going to have all the odd men out.
No, well, dude, I was watching a few different YouTube shows about like games of the year and who they think's going to win awards.
Yeah.
And it's pretty sweeping that a lot of people think Hades is like the game of the year.
Spoiler alert, that's
And then
my
a lot of
top
people are
contender.
like, but it's probably Last of Us 2.
For Game Informer, it will be.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. No diss on Game Informer, but the thing with the most broad appeal by a lot of these editorials is always going to be like the crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
So, what are you playing Assassin's Creed on?
PlayStation 4. I thought I was going to be leaving it for my PC, but I got a little impatient. My brother was talking it up, and I impulse bought. And I don't hate it. No,
That's A-okay.
Because I am running a ranged character on that. I'm running a stealth and ranged character because it's Assassin's Creed. And
That's what I do in Skyrim every time.
I disagree genuinely with the fact that assassins are like the best hand-to-hand combat fighters. That's not what assassins are. So I roleplay a very snipery, sneaky man, which is fantastic. And
I hear the bow combat's really cool with the weak points and stuff.
Oh, it's excellent. You can cripple and stuff like that, which is
stagger.
Mm-hmm.
On a scale of Edward to Connor, or not Edward to Connor.
Don't
like Connor.
Ezio to Connor. Connor's great, but like he's the least favorite for most people.
No.
Arno's pretty bad. Okay, Arno's worse than Connor big time.
It depends on when you played the game.
What's the main character's name, and how do you feel about him?
So, oh my god, I'm gonna fuck up the Norse name.
Bolgraf or something. Right?
No, it starts with an E. And
Eric?
Admittedly, I've only gotten to play this game 2 separate times.
Okay.
Because I suck at life and
fine.
I don't get to play video games as much
Those
as
names
I
get
want
weird.
And it's also like a time sink. Actually, I have the next 2 days off, so I will be much more in it.
Yeah. Is he smarmy? Is he fun? Or is he stoic?
He is passionate and invested in growing his tribe, which goes against the tribe leader. I like the dynamic that the character has because he is somebody who has a chip on his shoulder and grew up with that chip on his shoulder, so it never will go away.
Right.
Type of thing. The storytelling in it is fantastic. The way that the game opens up to you and tries to get you to like kind of embrace it, I think is done really, really well. I think that Assassin's Creed games in the last 3 iterations have done a really great job of bringing a wider base in, telling a deeper story. They got a little bit less sci-fi because they backed off on the Animus, but
yeah,
I think it's
the whole
mostly for the best.
The overall like narrative above that's the past stories is usually the least interesting part.
Yeah, Desmond's story was a little confused, like the whole time.
Honestly, I thought it was pretty succinct and straightforward. I knew what was happening the entire time, especially if you pay attention to the side text, which I know is annoying. But I definitely knew what was going on. But when that ended, everything after that, I was like, I don't know. And why are you giving me reasons to care? They obviously thought they were going to blow their load and stop for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I was thinking that they were going to take Desmond and make it into like, now it's the modern Assassin's Creed, where that would have been cool. I'd also love to see an Assassin's Creed set in Mongol China. Genghis Khan, where you kind of work with him, and then eventually it's like, I don't know, he's kind of losing it. Or you could even deal with his sons taking over. I think that could be kind of fun. Sadly, a lot of people are. I'm happy that they've gotten away from the climbing shit and more to boats.
Well, and even just the fact that they changed up their combat system from the Arkham games to
I haven't played any of the newer ones, so I haven't gotten
Odyssey. For when I got it to run on my PC for a millisecond, it was good. Origins ran way better, and honestly, Origins is really fucking awesome.
Origins is gorgeous. I encourage anybody that's interested in like the background historical stuff, don't take it as dictionary like information.
No, I learned stuff.
But they do like all of the satellite information that you get in the codex and stuff like that. That's all stuff that people have researched and love, and
that's true.
Like,
that's something that those games do very well, is you accidentally learn a lot. I know with Assassin's Creed 3 and 4, like I remember reading about the historical buildings that were featured, and they're like, this is straight up where this happened.
Yeah.
And that's very fascinating to also be learning something that's factual in a fun, silly game about jumping into hay piles
from thousands of meters
Can
up.
can I guess that you're the person in the Skyrim games that when you got a new book, you would read the
Yes,
book?
I absolutely actually read the Skyrim.
That says a lot
books.
about you. It says a lot because I would save those for like the end of the game, and I'd be like, I don't even remember where I got this book. I just have a shelf full of them.
I always wanted to like save one of every book, and I had this dream that one day when I have my Skyrim house and everything's perfectly organized, I could go and just actually like.
Which never happened because things would fall off walls.
Oh, I hate that shit. You try and put some like sword up on a display thing, and it's just all janky and doesn't look right.
My house in the swamp never looked quite like I wanted it to.
I had stuff literally actually jump off walls where it was like, I got it just
and then you try and like even hold onto the RB or like, just set things down. And something goes wrong.
or you leave the house and it loads up in a completely different part of the house. Or you lose it forever because it falls between the
clips through. Yep.
I after a while I was just like, well, I guess I can't really put any of this shit on display.
Apparently all of us played way too much Skyrim.
I think everyone in the world did.
Yeah.
It's literally it's on the back of like I made a joke about being able to play Morrowind on the back of my eyelids. I can do that with Skyrim now.
And I can play it on my Xbox Series X.
Wow.
You can play it on anything that you want to play it.
Well, Dylan, you asked me before we started, how are my new systems working out? And I'm guessing you didn't listen to last episode.
I did not.
Oh, no.
The Xbox Series X works fucking great.
Oh.
It's a dream. It changes games very fast. Like, I can seriously go over there now, turn it on, and it goes, I click Celeste, it goes right to Celeste, and I'm playing the game within 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is, from sitting down to playing a game, that is very impressive.
Yeah.
And Tetris Effect Connected looks fantastic.
Which I just played.
It's so good.
I actually played through the entire thing, and when I'm not completely distracted, like ADD, with a VR headset, I'm much better at the game.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things, like, I was terrible when I started, too. It's like, the more you play, eventually you're playing Tetris in your sleep. The PlayStation 5, on the other hand, doesn't play PlayStation 5 games for longer than 5 minutes. It's getting the CE-108255-1 is the error code.
Yep.
Apparently it's rampant, and many, many users are experiencing this. Sony hasn't said shit yet. I was not sure why.
Because they know it's a disaster.
Maybe they don't know what they're doing.
Does your front USB cord charge your controller?
Yeah, that works fine.
Because that's also another huge problem that's been popping up.
And honestly, I kind of expected that there might be some things wrong. It's a new system; these things happen. But
this might be something you have to send in.
Well, I was drinking with a lawyer friend the other night, and I was mentioning that, and he's like, "Class action lawsuit. That's fucking class action lawsuit. Just you should get it started because you get the most money." And so I was talking to this wonderful person named Aaron from Sony support, and they were as helpful as they could be, but they said, well, we've tried to fix it every way we can, including putting a USB drive. I had to download like a new system software, put on a USB drive, and reinstall it.
Are you serious?
None of these.
On what goddamn planet would? Whatever, it's fine.
None of these things work though. And then she's like, well, we've taken your name down, and we know this is an issue, and as soon as we have a fix for it, we're gonna get back to you. I'm like, nope. And then I said the words class action lawsuit, and she's like, I heard her type fast. She's like, actually, we're going to get it in. We're going to fix it for you right away. And I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. And she's like, so they sent me the box. It's actually arrived in the repair center today. I got the update.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it's already there. But then she's like, anything else we can do? I'm like, this isn't good enough, though, because I also have like at least a month and a half where I should be playing my new games I spent money on as a poor man. And she's like, I don't have the authority, but they're going to take a look at this, and you'll be compensated in some way for your time. And I've actually
how they did for people who bought into the 3DS early.
What did they do for that?
Oh, they gave like an ambassador program where you got a bunch of games that like literal like Game Boy Advance games downloaded directly onto your 3DS that literally now you cannot get. So if you have a 3DS with some of these Game Boy Advance games on them, your 3DS is worth literally just like 5 times more.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kind of like having PT on your PS4.
Yeah.
Yeah. which I definitely didn't sell at the right price. I was desperate.
That hurts my soul.
Food for the cats is important too.
I mean, it was to fix my car so I could keep working.
That's also
To get food for your cats.
No, but yeah, that's it. It sounds well. This is exactly what I feared. If I had bought into this too early, I would definitely be like smacking myself on the forehead because I am going to get a PS5 before a Series X. I do plan on owning them both because I'll be honest with you, Game Pass is just such a rip-roaring good deal.
Yeah.
I can't not.
So, yeah, someone asked me about, well, when do you think the next like Grand Theft Auto or this are coming out? Do you think it's worth getting a Series X? And I'm like, yeah, and I probably won't buy a new game for the Series X for the first half a year it's out, but I will play the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And it's a fast, fun system, and it's great switching between things. It looks great.
It runs better.
I've never had my cats interested in like the particle effects of a video game, but they are both trying to play Tetris. Like it's very
Watching those little whales fly across the screen.
well, and there's just like the million little particles that spread
sure.
around, and that's really what gets them. But
I can fucking see it too, huh?
the coolest thing about the PS5, the controller is the most futuristic, like high-tech thing about it.
I can't wait to feel that haptic.
The haptic feedback is insane.
Yeah.
Like every gun will have a different trigger squeeze.
I feel that, dude. That sounds cool. It's the only reason I might get that new Call of Duty. Even when I buy this inevitably in March or April of next year, like I'm very excited to try it then. It's almost as if to me the console watch didn't even happen. I'm like, well, I'll just wait till they fix this horse shit.
Yeah, it's an odd launch where you're not buying it to like play the new games
nothing
because they're
new.
also playable on every other system.
I heard a lot of people are actually just like, listen, these issues exist, but they're planning on selling them on eBay, and there are people who will still buy them. Like that.
And honestly, I could have just put the PS5 back in the box and sold it for probably $800, but I'm going to get it fixed.
Just get it fixed. It's yours.
And so what I have been playing recently, I've put in 23 hours into Celeste.
Okay.
I had never beaten Celeste before. It's
a wonderful
had
game.
the soundtrack.
Soundtrack is gorgeous.
I'm low key obsessed with that game right now. I've done all of the story, all of the B-sides, and I've beaten the farewell. So the C-sides are unlocked and the golden strawberries, and I'm fucking done now. Like my thumbs hurt all day.
It's
Platformers.
It's Super Meat Boy for the thinking crowd, in my opinion. The puzzles are so much better.
It gets a little too nuanced or obtuse. I don't know how to describe it, but like the wave dashing and those wall jumps, when you're doing frame perfect tricks 8 times before you can get to the next screen, it's very frustrating. Not Bloodborne level of frustrating to me, but I didn't throw the controller like Bloodborne, but I was thinking about it.
Well, if there's a game a lot like this that it didn't just come out, but it came out on Game Pass. If even the audience, if they're interested in Celeste, a great game I've been playing is called Katana Zero.
I've heard of that one.
It's on Game Pass right now. It's fabulous. I almost bought it for my Switch one time, but I threw it on because I was literally sitting around waiting for my cat to piss, and I was just like, I gotta distract myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I played a lot of games because EA Play came to Game Pass recently, so I played a lot of games that I've never fucking touched.
I've been in story mode for FIFA 16, 17, 18, 19.
Dude, I've mostly been playing actually online Battlefront 2 and Jedi Fallen Order, which Jedi Fallen Order, I talked to Tom about it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I slept on that game.
It's fantastic.
I beat the first 2 missions on that game as well, and I was talking to Tom about it, and he said you were super excited, but he also was like, honestly, the first level is the hottest shit in the game.
It truly is.
It truly is. He says it kind of starts meandering away and it gets a little lost.
It does, and there's a lot of assets that get reused, but in terms of like raw gameplay and exploration, there's really not a lot of games that are doing what this is. Yeah. And especially when there are points in the game where I thought like, your character Cal Kestis, you think like he's learned everything possible. Oh, and now actually you can go underwater, and I'm like, you can go underwater in this game? And I'll be like, okay, wait a minute. Now I can throw
did it with
my
the
lights.
Gungans.
Well, you get a breather. You get a breather.
Rebreather.
Yeah, rebreather. Yeah, I love it. I think it's my favorite Star Wars game that's ever existed. Period.
Oh, wow. That's a bold claim, right?
It is. It's Respawn. I love Titanfall 2. I wish I could go back and make Titanfall 2 my game of the year 2016 because the amount of time I put into that game was just
especially how little love it got, because that's a fantastic game too.
When you release it up against a Battlefield game and another Call of Duty, not going to go your way. Otherwise, I've been playing. I bought Pikmin 3,
Oh, nice.
and then I beat it. That day.
And then I beat it.
I'm very good at Pikmin games. I love Pikmin games. I think they're fabulous, and 3 is by far the best one. Otherwise, I mean, the list could go on.
What is your favorite Pikmin color?
I like the rock Pikmin the best from 3.
Dwayne?
They're actually rocks.
Dwayne the Rock Pikmin.
But if I had to go with the OG colors, it would probably be blue because they've got those little fish mouths. And I think that's really cute.
Okay. I've never played a Pikmin game.
Oh, really?
Well, you should borrow mine sometime.
They're adorable.
Yeah. I've never heard a bad thing about them, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today's topic, we're doing the top 5 PlayStation 1 RPGs.
Yes, we are. But we're also taking a look back on what we did in the past, right?
I think that might be like an extended part of this episode.
Sure.
We'll then probably be locked behind Patreon for a little while, but we are talking about that as well. We're going to relive some of the glory days. But
well, we're going to have a pal join us later as well.
Yeah, another Raw Dog will be here. But the PlayStation 1 was the first system that really kind of dug its claws into me. My brother owned a Super Nintendo and a Genesis and a Nintendo, so it was more his system. I played Mario World, but the PlayStation was the first time that I started buying games and being invested into the stories. Like, I watched my brother play Final Fantasy VI, and it was so beyond my understanding of what a game was. And so the PlayStation 1 is an RPG powerhouse.
Yeah.
And my brother and I got probably a third of the collection, and he has all of like the really obscure, wonderful ones: Legend of Legaia, Lunar the Silver Star 1 and 2.
I even forgot that one existed.
Lunar 2, Eternal Blue, the Legend of Mana.
Legend of Mana is amazing.
There's Chrono Cross. There's so many. There are so many. And then there's ones, do you count Final Fantasy Tactics, Vagrant Story?
All the remakes that go along with it. Yeah.
Kind of the side ones.
Well, it's funny because I loved JRPGs, and I discovered them when I was about like 10, and this boy basically had just a GameCube. So I didn't get a lot of games that I could play. My mom was going to buy me shit. I didn't have a job, obviously. So a lot of the stuff I did was, the first Paper Mario. I could play that. Otherwise...
That's a really good introduction to RPGs.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And then I would say GameCube. There were a few good ones on there.
Baten Kaitos.
Baten Kaitos changed my views on video games in terms of just raw storytelling.
What other RPGs would you put on the GameCube?
Tales of Symphonia originally came out on the GameCube.
Never played a Tales game.
Played
a Tales game.
There was one called like Lost Legacy, and it was a card-based game where you were this chick running through basically dungeons, and you were using cards in like almost like it was almost action. It was almost like an action JRPG, but it was a little lame. It looked awful.
But you did play a lot of the PlayStation RPGs eventually.
Well, later, and I got into it right before all of them became expensive. So I would buy a lot of these from used game stores, and I'd be like, hell yeah. I'm like, well, look at the art on this one. This one's pretty cool, too. Like, I heard about this before. And so that's exactly what I did. I mean, I got all the Final Fantasies, literally played them all the way through. And, I mean, the rest is history there. Like, they're my favorite games. I think...
Final Fantasy is... I think anybody that has ever played a Final Fantasy game through to the end has a like really special connection to that franchise, just because they are so extended, such an extended storytelling experience, and that didn't exist back then. You didn't get TV series that were hard-hitting storytelling experiences. You got serial Friends. Like where everything got reset at the beginning of the movie or the episode.
It's RPGs offer a different kind of experience where you are with a cast of characters, you're meeting new characters, you're watching them struggle, and you do develop an attachment. When they level up, it feels good.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
it does.
Oh, finally, I can use that Zodiac Spear. Oh god.
Oh god. Like, yeah, like
there's something
fanfare is amazing.
And yeah, so you do become invested with these characters. That's why they kind of have a lingering effect. Whereas some other games like Crash Bandicoot, really fun. I don't long for it. I don't have like fond memories of that.
Yeah.
Versus you can put on any song from like Final Fantasy VII or Suikoden, and it immediately just transports me. It's nostalgia. It's like it's lullabies to me. Some of that music.
Well, these are what I consider to be like the first true, like especially once the PlayStation hit, when they were really able to go out into different artistic atmospheres. Like these games looked different from each other. They could play different from each other. Whereas before it usually was that top-down kind of isometric, you know, Final Fantasy thing, and then it would scroll off to the side, and that's how all these games looked. This is where everything went just like, everyone just went, oh, what can we possibly do with this? And I think that's what I found special, because even as I started getting into these from when I was like, you know, maybe 15 on, I found that each of them felt so different and experimental that, I don't know, like games just don't do it anymore. They don't try that hard at this.
I think the PlayStation 1 offered a unique opportunity where you were able to make a game with a very big story, and you could do it with a relatively small team. Like if you were trying to pull off any of these RPGs today and have it have any chance of success in the industry, you need a massive team for years.
5 years maybe.
The development cost to put out something. But back then, one step above the Super Nintendo, it offered a lot of opportunities. And it was kind of the Wild West because we now have the ability to use like different camera movements. We can make this cinematic. There were no rules on how video game storytelling was done. And Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI and some other things from the Super Nintendo paved the way. But I think some of the greatest RPGs of all time, or what became kind of tentpole standards for what to expect, really happened in the PS1.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's the framework for modern RPGs built up around it. And that's not to say that there hasn't been more of that, because I would argue that there are games that have done the exact same thing of just like restructuring how RPGs work. But PlayStation 1 did a phenomenal job of laying that groundwork. And
sadly, I mean, PS2, then like there's some pretty solid RPGs on there, but by the time you get to the 3, 4, and now the 5, the numbers have gotten so small because it does take so much time. And outside of your Final Fantasies, there's not a lot. And what you're seeing is Kickstarters and calling back to the more simple framework for these games, because you can tell long stories, and the systems are so important to these games.
Well, think about it. Think about this though. If they made an actual sequel to Chrono Trigger, I'm sorry, Chrono Cross, I would play it tomorrow, because that still makes sense. And if it looked the same, I would still be playing it.
I love sprites.
I do too. And it doesn't even have to be sprites. It can be very simple images. A lot of the stuff I like now is literally just animation in games. I like nice animation, and if the animation looks good, I'm pretty much set. Like, I don't know if you've ever played the game Owlboy. It's not an RPG by any standards.
I've not touched it.
But it's the most gorgeous pixel art I've ever seen in any video game, bar none. And if they made something in that vein and they got a nice team on it, I'd go gaga. And I don't need graphically powerhouse things. That has its place. I will be impressed. I will go ooh and ah, just like everyone else. But for me, if the gameplay doesn't work, it's already over for me.
Chrono Trigger, like if there was like a successor to that, and what you are seeing is on Kickstarter, like Euden Chronicles, like we got the Suikoden guy back, and he's making this. But there's one that's like the Chrono Trigger spiritual successor called Sea of Stars.
Yeah,
have you seen the trailer for it?
I've seen clips of it.
Okay,
I haven't. I want to watch it.
Okay. And just so you guys know, I backed on a level which was maybe more expensive than I should have. But there will be a statue in game that I get to design, and it'll be a Raw Dog statue.
Oh, nice!
Yep, there will be a Raw Dog thing in this game.
I love it.
Yeah, but that's what people want to play is RPGs that can be made. Like, what was that really great one for the Switch?
It's what I was trying to futz with.
Where there's like the 8 different main characters.
It's something
Octopath.
Traveler.
Yeah, Octopath Traveler.
That one's fun. I don't think it's like a masterpiece by any means or imagination, but it was great.
It is a template for other people to follow.
Yeah.
Because that is like, I don't know if you played through it at all.
Oh, I beat it.
The scene and setting were all done so well in their pixel art form, which is something that falls to the wayside so often. And then beyond that, they also had like amazing animations for all of your moves and stuff like that.
Amazing atmospheric particle effects. And
the music.
It's literally shifting the camera down. So you're seeing it more on a level playing field as the characters. But the way that it's animated then, it just switches up so nicely. And the camera focuses and it pushes away when you move further away. So it actually feels like a camera's following you.
Yeah.
When it's definitely not.
They did that thing where like the camera would shift just like a tiny bit if
it looked like a 3D image.
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
It's actually in the I'm sorry, the Suikoden new.
A Yuden Chronicle.
Thank you. I want to.
They're not going to get any new gamers from the title.
I want to promote it because it looks amazing.
If they called it Titties and Beer, you'd get more Call of Duty fans over.
Yeah, just ask Pat McCurdy.
Doritos and Mountain Dew, you know.
Oh,
and
you know Pat McCurdy, huh? Sorry, I don't mean to roast him on here. I just heard him way too many times.
Oh no, we made a beer named after him.
Yeah, we recently had a beer called 30 Different Pat McCurdy's.
And then he came into our brewery.
And did he sing Sex and Beer?
He did not sing Sex and Beer, but he was in our brewery.
he messaged us on Instagram when we might have posted about it, and he just said thanks.
I really just want to meet him, or I want to be at a show of his, and I want to be like, play the Bobblehead Museum theme song. He did that one too.
For our Australian listener, Pat McCurdy is a local legend around Wisconsin.
Local legend, of course. He makes all of those cougars cream their jeans.
Speaking of creaming their jeans. We're gonna break down what we think are the top 5 RPGs. This is, of course, the Raw Dog's opinion, and it's the rawest opinion.
Sure.
We each made our own personal top 5.
Some of it might be controversial, I think, because I don't think any of our lists truly match, and I think some of it is going to be.
There's one game that was in all 3 of our lists, and that got the top number 1 spot.
Is that 9?
It's in the list.
Okay.
And so we have the top 4. That was easy to determine based on our list. But we have to kind of have a discussion on what number 5 should be right away.
Yeah.
I'm going to list some possible games that could be thrown in there. Breath of Fire 3, Star Ocean 2, Vagrant Story, Moon, Final Fantasy 8, Chrono Trigger, Lunar the Silver Star Story.
Are we going to count Chrono Trigger because Chrono Trigger is ostensibly
a SNES game?
That's why I wasn't sure if we should put it in there.
Which,
I don't think
it's fair.
I mean, we could
I don't
talk.
think it's.
I'd rather.
I would prefer. I would prefer original. Works.
So we'll throw
for the
Chrono
system.
Cross in there instead.
Yes.
If you'd like to, that's perfect.
Yeah.
But so we have a handful of games that might take the 5th spot. As far as ones that I've played, Breath of Fire 3 and Lunar, the Silver Star Story, and Final Fantasy 8 are games I've all beaten. Star Ocean 2 is a game that, to this day, there's too many systems in there. I don't think I would be able to understand it.
I played Star Ocean 4 mistakenly. I thought it was perfect for me, and then I tried playing it, and I was just like, oh shit.
From everything I've seen, because I think The Last Hope, or I have
that's 4
till the end of time, whatever the one is for the PS2.
That's the 3rd one.
I have that one, and I thought, I remember my brother loved the second one, and the new one, or like that one didn't do it for me. But Star Ocean 2 for the
Apparently
PlayStation one, there is like 50 different systems, and it makes Final Fantasy 8 look like a beginner's RPG.
Well, I mean, Final Fantasy games are beginner RPGs. Let's be clear.
Hot take.
True.
It's a hot take, but it's true. It's
not 12.
Okay, yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, or maybe tactics. But the rest of them, I had buddies who had never played an RPG that like picked up 7 or 10, and they're like, "This is great, dude.
Well,
Waka is pretty cool."
10 is the one that I tell people to play. If you're if you're looking at a Final Fantasy game, play 10.
I told my buddy that it was a sports game. If you play through enough, eventually you get to play Blitzball. And he got to Blitzball. I was like, "This is bullshit, Brad. This is not a sports game."
You're a trickster. I mean, these games are made for broad appeal for the most part, and so there's a lot of depth hidden there, but you really have to search for it. It's not until 20 hours in most Final Fantasies that you actually start seeing the systems progress in the way that they're meant to.
Yeah, my example would be the materia system in 7.
It doesn't get good until way later.
How many people didn't match materia with other materia of the same type?
And even on
didn't think it was going to work.
Even on replays now, I'll like try different materia combinations, and I'm like, I wonder if that does anything. And sure enough, there's a lot more depth in there than I initially thought.
And it's a good system. I like it a lot. But
my go-to is just the enemy skill matched with all. So it's just anything I do wrecks you. Yes.
Well, and I think that allowing for customization in these games and kind of letting you break the system is almost the most important aspect.
It's the joy of it.
Well, and that's why I think Final Fantasy VIII does deserve to be on this list, because when you really show what that system is,
that card system,
the card system, like the refining the cards you earn during the card games, or even like draw magic and stuff like that, and kind of seeing what works best with most things. I could spend hours doing that still. There's something satisfying about seeing those numbers go up, about saying, oh, which guardian is going to go with each of these characters. I think this kind of gets like the shit end of the stick, because I don't think anybody really liked the story as much as I did.
I don't know. I think a lot of people probably had a dislike for Squall.
I think Squall is. I think like if there was actual voices and they got the right person,
Nolan North.
If Squall was played by the Donnie Darko kid, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Because I think
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I think people
or Jared Leto. Talk about ruining it.
Right.
He's gonna be sending.
We'll
some
tattoo
some
damaged
shit
on Squall's forehead.
Want to see my gun blade?
No, I think for the most part though, like Squall, I don't find Squall annoying. I think all these characters are extremely human in the way they react to things around them. And I think that kind of turns people off because they're looking for like this fantasy experience. Whereas every single character in this game, I'm like, I know what they want. I know what they're going for, except for like Zell.
He just wants some fucking chili dogs.
He just wants those hot dogs, man. And he'll wait in line for them.
Honestly, he has the most relatable character arc for me.
I'm hungry.
I understand.
The villains make sense. The story doesn't really kick into gear
He's
until
got that.
three.
There's something about Mary haircut though.
It's true. It's true.
And yeah, I mean,
look at Waka. It got worse.
Yeah,
it did get worse.
And more racist.
They didn't learn.
Jake the dog as...
I mean, and that's something that some RPGs do really bad, is where they're like, dude, if you just play through the first 20 hours, the game gets good. And I'm like, I hate that shit. Kingdom Hearts 2, I don't know if I'll ever play you again, because that first like 4 hours, I'm like, this is hard.
I find the first disc of Final Fantasy VIII to be extremely playable and straightforward. You can spend as little time or as much time as you want in that game, and it will still give you a Final Fantasy experience.
As long as you can get to the Tetra Master Triple Triad, the Triple Triad card game.
It's not a hard game to learn.
No, the Triple Triad is, in my opinion, the best mini game that Final Fantasy has done ever.
Absolutely.
I could play that game forever.
I know it's purely myth, but I still had canon the Squall is dead.
Okay, yeah.
Theory.
I mean, yeah, you're right.
Because I noticed it when I was nothing years old, and I was like, oh my god, this is a thing.
Well, then it could have all been time displacement, and I agree. I think that there's so much going on in this story, and it's really like snappy.
Yes,
especially like stopping the nukes and like
everything
the gardens
happens very abruptly.
Your teacher's 22 years old. You want to bang her?
Quistis is fine. Let's be clear.
Quistis.
Quistis rules.
I prefer
She's an
Quistis to
blue
Quina.
mage.
Yes.
Quina's great.
Quina?
Quinn?
Is that a name that people use for her?
No, that's the Final Fantasy IX Ketchi.
Oh, okay.
Although
I would argue it's the Final Fantasy IX Quistis. Anyone with an enemy skill materia.
Yeah.
Blue mage.
Maybe it's the
call it
Final
Blue
Fantasy
Mage.
IX Zell because it just wants to eat hot dogs.
There you go, man. He just wants to eat anything, especially frogs.
Yeah, Final Fantasy games aren't afraid to get weird. Quina's gender, it was like always a fun thing to discuss.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. We never knew. And I think that's interesting that people are like, we don't know.
I love that
Quina's supposed to be a boy.
I think though that
I
there's
think it's canonically male, but I don't know. I don't know the
it's
gender
one of
politics
those things
that.
that's left so much better alone, though.
Yeah.
Like,
I like a lot of characters who are very ambiguous.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just fun, and it's also just like because it really makes you think. What's the point in even giving a shit?
it removes that.
Yeah.
So let's mention some other PS1 games.
While we gush.
Breath of Fire 3. I
I've
remember
never played.
I remember beating this game.
I also haven't.
Really enjoyed it, but I don't like it more than 8 Star Ocean 2. I'm not qualified because I don't have a PhD.
Sure.
Lunar the Silver Star Story, great game, but arguably, I mean, wasn't that a Saturn game originally? Like, I don't.
Yeah, I think it was a port.
It's super classic, super.
I almost played it on the
straightforward.
DS. They released a version for the DS, if I remember correctly.
You're right.
And
there's a
played
Game
that.
Boy Advance one, I think, as well.
That makes sense.
And I remember the strangest thing in that game was that I think they're called bromides. Every single character, you could find like a hidden sexy picture of them, like with them pretty much nude. And my brother got them all. Like,
Brian,
That's perfect.
Brian, Pixar, it didn't happen, baby.
Lunar was cool. Chrono Cross, I'd never really dabbled in too much.
I beat Chrono Cross. That is a very strange video game.
Yeah.
I played it because Allie actually owned it, my girlfriend, and it's literally it's interesting, but it's certainly not what you expect or cohesive, because the entire thing is based off of an idea that the originator of Chrono Trigger had as a story that takes place after, that was supposed to be kind of visual novel-esque. Then he's like embarrassed by it, and he's like, I can do it better. And then he makes a full game about it. It's a story where they don't acknowledge the first one, but takes place in the same world, but doesn't make any sense because nothing looks like it should. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, what does this have to do with anything?
Yeah.
The environments are very annoying.
It feels very messy.
It's super messy.
Like that would be the
48 playable characters.
What?
48 playable characters.
That's fine for some games.
if you put the time and effort into fleshing and making sure that they work.
Which we'll talk about those games.
Yeah.
I know the
we're
100
sitting
and,
on that one.
100 and whatever stars. It's fine. But I you know what? I can't really include Chrono Cross on this list. I wish I could. I want it. When I first played it, I'm like, hell yeah. Here's the thing. Allie actually played this before Chrono Trigger. Oh, and I keep saying I have Chrono Trigger on the DS.
That's probably why she has better feelings
I know,
about it.
But I said, if you play Chrono Trigger on the DS, because the DS is the best version, bar none.
Yeah.
Period.
I've heard that.
And if you play that, you're going to have the best time. That is such a better video game.
Legend of Dragoon. Do any of you guys have thoughts on this game?
Now, hold on. Allie, can you come into the room, please?
I've never played.
Welcome, Allie. Would you please tell us about Legend of Dragoon?
I kind of remember the premise, but you're this really cool dude named Dart, who I don't remember exactly what happens. You find these cool gems. I don't know. You can like transform into a dragoon. You pair up with a prince at some point. There's a lady with black hair who you think is evil at first, but she becomes your ally. And then, I don't know, you fight dragons. I remember I got stuck for a year in one of the temple mazes. I couldn't give you a good synopsis. I just remember.
Do you like the game though?
Oh my God, yeah. I think my favorite part of the game was every time they would attack, they would they would like had like a little catch saying of the attack.
It made me want to.
Now this is pod racing.
Yeah, harpoon. You know,
That's so Wizard Annie.
but yeah, that guy was my
Heel.
favorite character. The guy with the harpoon, the first guy with the harpoon.
Hey, he can harpoon me any day.
Any day.
Goku looking ass motherfucker.
Yeah,
Look
I
at
think
him.
he's on the cover.
Yeah,
I
he is.
mean, but also, who doesn't want to get
Oh,
with it? Goku?
And Dart is short
can I
for
see it?
Dartholomew, actually. Dartholomew, yeah.
Based off the Three Musketeers.
Yeah, it's a deep cut.
D'Artagnan.
I was gonna say, is he the evil side version of Bartholomew? Bartholomew?
No, yeah, it's
I don't know if it was due to just really bad translation, but like the story was super hard to follow in this game.
Have you played it, right, Brad?
I played through some of it, but honestly, it didn't work for me. And I think Sony trying very hard to make their own Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
And
Did you play it, Nick?
I touched the. I will not
touched
say
it
that.
once.
Yeah, I will. I will not say that I actually played the game because I
you just
played
fingered
it
it for a
once and
second.
just bounced.
Yeah.
Like
So
I
there-
was. It was a messy system, and I didn't dig it.
So I did get to the fourth disc to like the final bosses. It's like you have to fight a series of dragons at the end.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I did, but I did not have enough like healing potions. So
Oh, what a bitch. Yeah, that sucks.
I kept dying and dying and dying and dying on this one like dragon that's
I've
got
had
like
that
a one hit
happen.
kill. And I've actually never beaten the game, but I'm right at the end and I still have my little purple PlayStation 1 memory card with the game saved.
if you want
on
to
it.
borrow that.
I have it.
She
Oh.
owns it, yeah.
I own it.
We've been locked down in quarantine for 8 months. You haven't beaten it?
No.
Because there's a million better things to
She's
do than
an
play Legend of
essential
Dragoon.
But also, like, here's the thing.
Like all
Allie,
of those
Allie,
other games.
Allie had a few games that I had never played, and I went right to them. And then I looked at this, and I said, no.
You watched me play it, and I remember you being really annoyed. You made me turn the volume down.
Yeah,
I remember
it's really bad.
I remember thinking this is RPG by committee. It's like focus testing a movie to death, and I feel like that's kind of what.
That's what most video
Yeah.
games are these days, too. So
Yeah, I would be remiss.
an
if-
era where they didn't do that. That is another thing that the PS1 is great for.
Yeah.
They didn't focus test it half to death.
There's a few creators whose story and vision was able to
Yes,
shine.
absolutely.
And speaking of Suikoden,
The first one, I've played that.
the first one, it's pretty straightforward. What is most memorable about it is its political tale, political intrigue. You
Yep.
start off on one side of the army, you wind up opposing your father, who is a general in the other army, and little character moments that wind up defining, like, you can have just like one interaction with one character, and you know who they are, and then you don't see them for maybe most of the game if you don't play with them, but they're burned into your brain in a really great way. Suikoden,
Suikoden's very good.
it's a fast RPG.
I love the 6-player battle system
Yeah.
where having someone in the back rows actually means something,
Yeah.
and then having people in the front rows
Yep.
actually means something. In Final Fantasy games, especially in the 2D ones, you couldn't really tell sometimes where they were placed,
give a
and
shit.
it would confuse.
You
Most
could
of the
in
time, it
7.
didn't matter.
It was pretty obvious.
Allie,
Unless
if
you
you
were
want to,
Light
you're
Mage.
welcome to just be on the rest of this episode.
Yeah, you're.
Let me grab my beer.
Join us. There she goes.
I'm abandoning Carly.
She's good.
You have to share the seat. Actually,
I really-
that's,
Oh, yeah.
that's how this works.
I first played Suikoden on the PlayStation Vita.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense, because you can just download. Honestly, the PlayStation Vita is the perfect way to play half of these games.
Yeah.
Low key, the Vita is like the best RPG system
Yes, it is.
that has
Absolutely.
existed.
No, I
Just
know.
because it's got, what, Persona 2 or 3 on there? 4. It's got Persona 4 on there.
Golden, baby. the best Persona game.
Please make sure to tune into our Persona 5 Christmas
best-
episode next
later,
time.
later. We will get there.
Okay.
Excuse me, bitch, Teddy.
But we have to make a decision on what number 5 is.
I'm going 8 because I'm just throwing it out there.
What are my options?
Pretty much Suikoden and Final Fantasy 8, I think.
I mean, I'm gonna throw it in for Suikoden because
Okay.
8 is arguably one of my least favorite
Sure.
Final Fantasy games, and that comes purely from a tax on my anime brain.
Oh.
I think
Sure.
like I got really sick of OP anime protagonists right around that time, and Squall felt like it. He was despondent and disconnected.
I'm going to do something weird here. I'm going to do something weird, and I'm actually going to say 8. I love Suikoden to death. It's one of my favorite games of all time, but 8 is a more interesting RPG. It's doing more, I think, interesting things story-wise, system-wise. As far as Suikoden, I like more, but you got to give it to 8. I think it's such an interesting game. And I'm very happy that Squaresoft, after the success of 7, didn't just be like, fuck it, make 7 too.
Right.
That happened later.
Yeah.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
So, we're going to put number 5, Final Fantasy.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Number 8.
I have to justify my tattoo. I really do. It's
And so what we're going to do is take a quick break to hear from some other amazing shows from the Greenlit Podcast Network. I'm going to grab another beer. Grab one for yourself unless you're driving your car to work. Then don't do that. You're going to work. You shouldn't be drinking.
Stop that.
Yeah, stop that. Put that down.
Have a coffee.
Have a nice coffee or something. Get a Raw Dog's coffee mug. They're really
unless
nice.
you're like a drone pilot.
Hunter x Hunter, Yu Yu Hakusho, literary analysis, comparative localization, JoJo references. The works of Yoshihiro Togashi hold a specific kind of magic, and the people who seek to examine their roots and spiritual descendants are known as the Spirit Hunters, available on the Greenlit Podcast Network.
Video Deathloop is a podcast where we watch a short video clip on loop until we just can't take it anymore. Along the way, we'll try our best to make each other laugh and to hold out longer than the other guy. You can jump in on any episode, no need to worry about continuity. Check out Video Deathloop on the Greenlit Podcast Network with new episodes every Friday.
And we're going to now do the next 4 RPGs in the second half of this episode. Number 5 wound up being Final Fantasy VIII. And we have made the list, and we have decided the other 4 already, so there will not be a debate, but we will be gushing. Number 4, it's a little game we did 3 fucking episodes on already. Final Fantasy VII. Have you guys heard about this one? You heard this one?
Is that big sword
I don't
involved?
know. I don't know what you're talking about. There's
Sephiroth's about length, but Cloud's about girth.
You want the girth.
How do we not make that joke once in the last?
Like, he can really pierce that cervix. And Cloud, he can really tear it up.
I mean, I thought we were talking about killing enemies, but okay.
Yeah, that too.
President Shinra has taught us that Sephiroth knows how to get in deep.
Now, before Cloud was told that he dilly-dally shilly-shallies and Vincent is the emo god savior of the universe, there was a game called Final Fantasy VII. We've talked at length about this in a previous episode, but
sometimes I think about Final Fantasy VII and I go, oh, wowie.
I mean, you've had the pleasure of even interviewing a voice actor,
Mr. John Eric Bentley, wonderful man, the voice of Barrett for the new remake. Yes, he was even funnier than I thought he would be. Final Fantasy VII was a big deal. The fact that this game came to the PlayStation 1 over the 64 shaped the generation of consoles, put 64 in a world of hurt. Granted, I think that would have happened regardless, but this was the first big company to jump onto the new system. 7 did a lot of new things for RPGs.
I think Final Fantasy VII shines in the way that it is almost this, like, it set a benchmark, and you couldn't go below that anymore, and you just had to surpass it. Because anything that tried to, like, ride the line and just roll with it automatically lost. It's because it was just so pivotal in what it was doing.
The early PS1 RPGs that were coming out, like Suikoden, got drowned in the Final Fantasy VII noise.
They absolutely did.
And it reminds me of like Final Fantasy X, and then they tried to do Suikoden 3, and they tried to make it like 3D models, and they tried to make it look as good as 10. It's like, you're not there. You need to go different if you can't go as like pretty or as polished.
It's not worth chasing a trend that you can't match, type of thing.
And not many companies outside of Squaresoft or Square Enix
that point
would be able to put out a product like this. I mean, with all the money of Sony Computer Entertainment America, Legend of Dragoon was their answer, and no one remembers that game that well. Even you, Allie, who you love the game or you played a lot of it, you're like, I don't know what happened.
I played the game. I mean, I think it took me like 3.5 years to like get through the majority of that game. Because at the time, like
Not a good
you
sign.
couldn't find like the game guide for it. Like you remember they used to have like those like GameSpot guides
Game
or whatever.
Informers and stuff like that. Yeah,
like. And the internet wasn't really a thing. Like you could find cheats for like Final Fantasy 7 or 8 when like the seed quiz and whatnot. That was it. That's all you had was just like some weird like TXT like just little document hanging out on the like online. But no, I would say like they really tried to like up it with the 3D models. Like with Legend of Dragoon, it is all 3D model. But like with Final Fantasy 7 with the FMVs, like when you see that first one, when they're like running out of the Shinra building, getting ready to get in that truck, I was like, oh my God, Cloud's on motorcycles.
The motorcycles.
I was like, oh my God. Like it was so fucking cool.
It looked great. I remember bringing friends over to show them a summon. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, like give me a second.
That's Ifrit, okay? And then I want to show you Shiva.
I was going to say, I'm pretty partial to Shiva.
I
good.
I snort that diamond dust.
it's also
She can freeze me any day.
it's also that when this was first introduced to me, it was like nothing I'd ever seen, and I even like this was introduced 5 years after it came out to me. Even then, I was like, oh, this is kind of special. Like aesthetically, the design elements, the choices in terms of the storytelling, cinematography wise. I'll be honest with you, at a certain age, I couldn't tell that they were pre-rendered backgrounds. I don't know about any of you guys. I thought literally they just made it out of clay.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, look what they fucking did with this shit. I thought the characters looked dumpy and weird, but from all the dialogue I had read, even though the translation isn't like the greatest, I still think that it packs this really deep emotional punch. I think that's really hard for them to do.
I remember a kid. This was one of the first pieces of media that I was allowed access to where the characters were straight up cussing.
Yeah.
The first time Barrett said that fucking cunt pizza or whatever he said, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And a mature story with a lot of broken characters and explores mental health in a way that I think is pretty ahead of its time as far as what video games were doing.
Incredibly relevant now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
getting lost in a big mechanic society.
If not for the fact that the plot twist is quite confusing the first time you go through it. I don't know if anyone remembers doing it for the first time. A lot of people have different interpretations. I still talk to people who think Cloud is a clone.
Yeah.
But that's
He's
not
a
true.
Sephiroth
No,
clone,
but
dude.
literally that was Sephiroth faking him out.
Yeah.
So
And meanwhile, Hojo, depending on what game you're in, is saying a lot of different shit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we all know what he's interested in.
Weird
Tentacles.
Yeah. No, that guy watched way
beautiful,
too
mother.
much hentai.
Oh.
We're going to put Red 13 and we're taking him and we're putting Aerith in the other thing. They're going to mate.
It's like, what kind of science are you doing here?
I'm gonna breed a woman with a cat.
They're gonna have
It's gonna be really good.
We're going to the promised land. It's the best land.
It's where everyone gets to fuck.
Oh, my God.
A land with all the oil, all the spirits.
No, I love it.
Getting edited out.
Get the white materia. It'll be great.
The
It'll save
Democrats are
world.
killing the live stream.
Jesus
We need to get more of it.
We've got these Omega weapons. They're going to stop the meteor.
The biggest weapons, the best weapons. We're gonna blow up the asteroid
best
with the
weapon.
material.
It's in the ocean right now, but I promise
come from
that
the
we'll get it
ground.
out.
They come from the ground. They're really big, but I promise you, they're not real, and they're not gonna kill you. They're not gonna kill you.
Sephiroth never worked for us. This is lies, fake news.
I know it's up there in the sky, and it looks like it's gonna kill us. But
Genova
I
is
swear,
the cure.
it's not gonna hurt
If
you.
you just inject a little Genova into your blood, you'll be fine.
You'll be like Sephiroth, and you'll be great.
We're gonna build a giant cannon.
Best in the world.
Best. The best.
And meanwhile, the rest of the world's like, dude, Midgar sucks right now.
God.
Who's in charge over there? This is
What is
really
going-
bad.
I hear there's terrorist
Who is
attacks
the mayor?
all the
He
time.
is not the best.
No, the mayor's a cool guy. The mayor's like, I made a puzzle in the library.
I can't
gosh.
wait. I can't wait till wait till COVID's over so I can finally take that vacation to Cosmo Canyon.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm going to go to Costa del Sol as soon as quarantine ends.
Isn't he at Costa del Sol?
Hojo goes there.
Hojo
He is
Yeah,
there,
he's
yeah.
like fucking sunbathing.
in a lab coat. In a lab coat.
I remember that.
People forget how silly that game is for how seriously they take it.
I
later.
love the cross-dressing part
that's the
in
point of it.
Sector, what's it, Sector 6, Sector 7?
Oh my god, the remake.
Yes.
I don't know if you got to see the remake.
I got to see some dancing.
We can't spoil it. For
No.
her.
My brother already spoiled it for me. I saw some dancing, and I'm very excited for
Oh,
it.
it is magnificent.
I just remember like never really getting picked for it. You know, he always picked one of the girls.
Oh, yeah,
Until
yeah.
I finally figured out how to get the panties from the Honeybee Inn.
You need
you
to have
gotta-
the
you
silky panties. You need
Yes.
something soft and sensual.
Yeah.
There's
Something
something
shimmery.
Something
the,
shimmery. Yeah, that's what it is.
The one that always
And then the
screwed
good
me
wig.
was trying to get something out of the vending machine. There was a vending machine that
Yeah.
you had to
You need
go
the
to
expensive
for
medicine,
something.
and then the expensive medicine helps the guy poop. And then
Yeah, it stops his like diarrhea or whatever, and then he gives you a
He might be
tiara.
constipated.
And
I think that's-
and most of what our Final Fantasy VII discussion will be how President Shinra is Donald Trump.
he really is.
Any other final thoughts on 7 before we move on?
I will say I feel so fortunate. Like, we got a PlayStation for Christmas as a family. Like that was our family present for all the kids, and we each got a game. And my older brother got 7, and we're all trying to play it. We're not quite getting into it, and then finally, like him and I are playing it together, and it's like just like a breakthrough. Like all of a sudden, once you leave like Midgar, like
Midgar.
everything just opens right up. And like I just remember, like I would come home from school and he'd be playing, and we would just like play the game together. It's like such a good memory.
How'd you get there? Were you there?
Yeah, and like it was so much fun to watch. And yeah,
Is Sid Highwind using a mop?
well, there was the mop, there was the bat with the nails.
Yep.
What was the? There was
I forget
some
the
other ones.
ones. I think Aerith had a stupid one. Eris. It's Eris. But
Yeah.
It is Eris.
I have been
I'm so
I have been reprogrammed.
I have throughout that entire time we were bopping in between those names. So honestly, it doesn't fucking matter.
No,
Number 3.
Hashtag still
Number 3.
Now, this is personally my favorite game of all time. I feel comfortable saying that Suikoden 2.
Wow, there are cum stains all over it.
This has gotten a lot of use. This game, like, it looks like shit.
Damn.
Those PlayStation black discs.
it even has a crack on the side of the case, Brad.
I know.
You humped it too hard.
I used to sleep with this thing and just like hold it when I was going to bed, put it under my pillow. Suikoden 2
Wonderful.
is a fantastic game.
Yes.
Did you play this one as well? You
I
only played the
it on
first
PS
one.
Vita.
Oh, you played the second
Yes,
one as
I
well.
did. I played through half of the game, and then I sold my PS Vita, and then I don't know. I could literally still download this on my PS3 because I have it on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could still play it, but I played through half of it. It was fantastic.
It took the formula from the first game, which you have a pretty straightforward battle system, which I really like is that they didn't do anything too crazy to mix it up. Like, we're not junctioning, we're not doing this. You could put different runes on characters is pretty much it, but you only could do 2, maybe 3 runes, and it's pretty limited depending on whether or not you're a magic user, but 6 characters, the battles are fast. You'll choose what each character does, and then they'll do things all at the same time. So you're not waiting there, and like the fast
Graphical
character goes
powerhouse,
first,
yeah.
and it's whoosh, 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 and then everything, like, you just got to watch what happens. It's very quick, and then you can just free will and let the battles go fast. The story is what is, I mean, it's what's most
What's the name
interesting
of that
there.
villain again? I always
Luca
forget.
Blight. Luca Blight is in many. I mean, if you played the game, you realize that he is one of the most despicable villains of all time. There's a scene where he is torching this village, and they are pretending it was the rebel army to incite support for their cause. And he has a female villager on the ground begging for her life, and he's like, "I want you to squeal like a piggy and walk around and pretend you're a dog." And she's doing all these things. And she's like, "Will you please let like my child live now?" And then he's like, he just kills both of them. He's like, "Why would I let you live?" or something like that. And truly heartless. And if anything could be said negatively about this game, is it might lose steam because about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through the game, you fight Luca Blight, and you assemble 3 different parties. Like, the only time you have 3 different parties where an entire first party can die.
Ruin this guy.
And yeah, and if you haven't been mixing it up, because there's 108 characters, if you're not mixing it up, you're like, this third party, I'm like, oh, I'll put the squid in there. I guess I'll put the big hippogriff guy.
The hippogriff guy is kind of cool.
He's kind of cool. He's seriously like, he's like a cat. He's like, whatever. Like, fuck
Well,
you.
that's the part that's the part that stressed me out about the first Suikoden, is that a lot of those characters are actually quite missable.
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention or you don't talk to every single person in an RPG. I used to be the type of person who talked to every single person in an RPG. These days, I just cannot. I cannot go there. In Suikoden 2, it's a lot easier to get these guys if you're paying the right attention to unique-looking characters.
Yeah,
because they actually do look unique.
And
Unique character models and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
it really bothered me because in Suikoden 1, there was maybe 3 or 4 characters that had unique models. And I was just like, how do I recruit them? And they weren't meant to be recruited. I'm like, but they have a model. And I was so
Only
concerned.
108.
I was so concerned that I was missing characters in the first game that there's a tablet you can go look at the entire list. And I had made a separate list of everyone in the castle. And I'm like, Sanchez isn't appearing on the list. What is going on here?
I can get this
and
guy.
I thought the game was broken. I thought I wasn't going to be able to resurrect my cook. And it turns out that Sanchez was a bad guy. You found out later on. I'm like, that's why he's not on the tablet. Okay, fine. Suikoden is a very mature story, which I really appreciate.
Also, save data from Suikoden 1 can transfer over to Suikoden 2. Mass Effect style.
Which you can bring that resurrected cook over.
Yes, you can.
Gremio will be there.
And which I did on my PS Vita.
Yep.
To
and
which I say, for all of the great credit that Mass Effect got for all of that, I feel like they shouldn't have, because that feature has been around forever.
I think Mass Effect overpromised what
They did.
I mean in a big
Every
way.
game?
Like those Telltale games. Like, they always
Other
overpromise.
than
Hey,
what the
you shut your
storytelling
mouth
is.
about those Telltale games.
They're not that good.
I don't care. I like them.
Suikoden 2, though, has some wonderful doggy people. The third one would introduce ducky people. And Sergeant Joe is cool.
Yes.
A cigar-smoking duck who doesn't wear pants. I'm into that.
Yeah.
But Suikoden 2
Sounds like
is
me.
my
Yeah.
favorite game of all
at home.
time. Yeah.
For like a hot second, like part of my ADHD brain like zoned out, and I was like, 108 characters. Is he talking about Chrono Cross right now?
That's 48.
Still a ridiculous amount of characters you can recruit
And-
across 2 different worlds.
And not every character in the Suikoden series is playable. One guy is
Yeah.
a guy who just like, I love making elevators. I just don't have anywhere to work. It's like, you come to the castle.
Yeah.
And,
I love that.
and he's like, I'm going to make you an elevator.
Yeah.
There's one guy who just like gambles and he's kind of a shithead. There's one dude, forget the name of their species. They have wings. They think they're just called the wingers. That might be also like a
Terrible.
racial epithet or
That's
something.
terrible.
I don't know.
Winglies. Who knows?
But he just steals all your shit. And then eventually he joins your team and he's like, I can steal shit from other people. And you're like, I'm super happy you're here, Chaco.
No, give me my shit back.
Yeah. Because he steals all your money. And that's one of those great situations like where you're eventually, you have a moment where everything's stolen and you have to like scramble to like have nothing again.
Like,
I remember
"Ah,
hating that. I hate
damn
those.
it."
Those parts in games actually stress me out. Just like, they've got all your shit. Chase them. I'm like, how did this happen in the first place, you incompetent clods?
I hate that I metagame those moments
I always do. I'm just
because, like,
why couldn't my people keep this from happening?
well, and I am literally the opposite of, oh, they just took all my shit. I'm not too worried about it. It's gonna come back.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're gonna give me back all of the things that I was supposed to have. I don't play arcade games anymore, but
Yeah.
like,
and like if the game is designed around that, so it's a little
Yeah.
more acceptable. And one other thing that I really love about 2 is you get to see the characters from the first one, like maybe 40 or 50 characters carry over, and you're like, oh, Futch, you're getting like Futch gets a new dragon after his dragon dies in a big accident, and he's no longer a Dragon Knight. They're like, we love you, but you can't be a Dragon Knight. And it's really tough to find dragon eggs, and he finds this super rare one. And Humphrey doesn't say shit, and he's there to help out. And it's really interesting. Like, it's fun seeing the characters explored and progress, and just hang out with Victor again. I will always take that opportunity, and it's a
also-
shame he never got to finish that drink with Annabelle.
oh,
It's these characters are very they're better written than the main character of the first one. These characters have actual like thoughts and feelings for the most part. It's not just them being swept up in the
plot.
The plot of the world, like the world events.
And there's something to be said about when you have such good writing that the Gravedigger character from the first game has left a bigger impression on me than Zell from FF8, who you spend a lot of time with, but you're just like, he likes
hot dogs.
He likes hot dogs.
And the girl in the library has a crush on him.
Yeah. And it's characters that can be defined so well from one picture and 10 pieces of dialogue.
Yep.
There's something to be said, like George R.R. Martin does that with his books, where there's throwaway lines about one character, and you can imagine an entire world built around one character, which is really great world building.
Yes.
And I'm very excited for A Euden Chronicle. Now, Dylan will have to guide us through number 2.
Number 2, Xenogears.
Oh, yeah, Xenogears.
Which I actually had as my number 1. And I had it at my number 1 for several reasons. And this is also why I have a bone to pick with Final Fantasy VII. Because this was being developed around the same time as 7. And a lot of the resources just went straight up that thing's ass. Yeah. And while I think Final Fantasy VII is a great game, when I played Xenogears, I was completely just like, what? Games are like this?
Yeah, but you like big robots and mechs, too. So.
Yeah, but also the game looks a ton better. It mixes some 3D models with 3D environments with 2D character models. And they blend pretty seamlessly. This game is well known for a lot of things. It's heavy themes on like Nietzschean philosophy. Brad, if I had to describe this one way, and I know you've never played it, correct?
I watched my brother play through a large chunk of it, and I know that there are giant mechs.
Correct.
There's a story that is complicated.
Sure.
And kind of difficult to understand, but I remember the art style being very striking. Okay. And the systems being a little too complex for my child brain to understand.
The death blow system can be a little weird. Luckily I played this when I was like 19 for the first time. It's complicated how you have to use different combos for a certain amount of time in order to learn certain death blows. And then there's a whole different combat system for your mechs. However, it's at the end of the day, this is just a game that deserved so much more attention for what it was. Famously on disc 2, there's just a ton of exposition.
How many discs were there?
2.
Okay.
And on disc 2, there's so much exposition that literally they will explain what happens in certain dungeons, and then you'll go into a boss fight. This is because they didn't lose a bunch of their funding. They ran out of funding. Yeah. Final Fantasy VII had not just come out yet, and it wasn't just planned to be this massive success. I do kind of blame Final Fantasy VII for that. It took away a lot of people from the development team. A lot of the people who could have had any knowledge in 3D and kind of expedited the process, they were put into 7 because 7 was mostly 3D.
Yeah,
and like 7 was a cheap
absolutely
it was such a heavyweight giant project that involved so many people. It was in my opinion, it is the first AAA game, funded game, where
it's a shame
resources were just thrown at it.
But it's a shame that Xenogears is suffering.
Yes,
if it was made 2 years later, it would have actually had everything it needed to survive. The dungeon exploration is like nothing I still have ever seen. Maybe Legend of Heroes, like Trails in the Sky series.
I love that series.
Yeah, me too. Trails of Cold Steel.
Yep.
It's actually quite a bit. It looks a lot like that, especially with the sprite work and the way that it's isometrically put. I love the battle system. I love it so much.
Yeah.
It's a lot of risk reward, and it's a lot of actually having to pay attention to what you're doing.
Was that one of the first ones that started to do the area effect type thing where you got to control where you were making that?
So it was more or less like a fighting game. So you have these certain amount of points that you can use each battle, and then the triangle would be worth 3, which was a heavy blow, but you also had a lesser chance to hit.
Sure.
And then the square was 2, and then the X was 1. I think that's the order. I don't know for sure. But it would literally just be like if you weren't using some of these, sometimes you wouldn't unlock certain death blows because if you weren't practicing your hits, you wouldn't really know. There's also magic. There's a bunch of other stuff going on. The story is cuckoo bonkers bananas.
Yeah.
It's about reincarnation. And it's also about the seeding of planets from ancient aliens.
So, okay.
Hold
Yeah.
on. But you said the words ancient aliens, so I have to say aliens.
It's not aliens, but it's aliens.
It is, though. It's humans.
Xenogears, is this the first in the Xeno series?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because I have Xenosaga Verwil Schermacht, some German shit,
That is-
episode 1 on the PS2.
Spiritual successor.
Okay, because it's got the Xeno in the name. I wasn't sure. Because it's supposed to kind of be in the same series.
Yes.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with Xenogears, though.
But they just took the title. And
What they take is a lot of the themes. So if it's a spiritual successor, it's not quite the same.
Because I remember I got that game and watched the 20-minute opening video, I think, 4 times, but never played the game.
You can actually,
Yeah.
I think once you beat the game, I don't know if it's the second or the third one, you can just only watch the cutscenes, just like Mortal Kombat, and it's like a little movie.
Yeah.
Which we have done.
Which we have done.
But one thing I remember,
Mortal
because
Kombat especially is like
I
the
had-
perfect game to
It's
do
like a
that
goddamn
with.
movie.
yeah, I had Xenogears, but I played it on my PlayStation 2 because it was borrowed to me by a friend, and I'm sorry, Quantrell, I'll never give it back to you.
Well, luckily I own a copy as well.
So
Quantrell, reach out on Patreon. We can figure out a way to get it back to you.
sorry. But I think they had like translation issues because like there were so many like religious themes going on that they had like a really hard time bringing it over.
They absolutely did, because a lot of the main themes are kind of the corruptive influence of various people. It wasn't the institutions, it was definitely the people, because you had like these inquisitors, and one of the main characters is an inquisitor. He's got like this gun. It's very one of the things I can say about this is that it really goes for it. In everything that it wants to do. It deserved to be so much more.
And I don't think games really go for it like they used to.
No,
I just, in like the thought that they could bring in all of these different, in the way that, Final Fantasy, they'll throw in things like Ifrit, Shiva, which are definitely like takeaways from other religions. This one actually absorbs a lot of these things and makes you think about them in very specific ways. I was going to say,
Nier Automata.
it is the Nier Automata. It is the Nier Automata of JRPGs.
Yeah.
Period.
Xenoneers.
I was gonna say it's like the lost season of Rurouni Kenshin because it was too religious to be released.
That could be
And
I
and on that note,
fell
we're
in
getting
love
out
with
there
you just now.
very far. But we need to bring this home, and we have one more game to talk about.
Yes, we do.
Nick, would you please tell us why this is number 1?
It is.
And what game is it?
This is Final Fantasy numero 9.
Numero
That's
nine.
German for yes.
I know, right?
Numero no.
No, I love this game because it is the first Final Fantasy game that I had the pleasure of playing in its intended form, I think. Final Fantasy 7 and 8 are fantastic games. I take nothing away from them, and I love the risks that they took. But coming back to its roots and installing that fantasy element into the entire vibe of the game, it felt so right. It felt so good to go back to knights and mages and all of that
Fantasy.
Yeah, just the fantasy of the final.
And it was definitely Sakaguchi, because it was one of his last like main big pushes.
Yeah.
And it was a love letter to the original Final Fantasies. It was it was calling back, like it was an homage to what he loved about the series so much.
As somebody who actively is creating their own fantasy world, I play Dungeons and Dragons. Airships are gonna be a thing because they're so damn cool.
Yes!
All of those little like nuanced things that kind of fall by the wayside because they're just set pieces. They pushed all of it into it.
The opening sequence when you meet Zidane and you like this little like rogue character with a tail, and he's like kind of got this like Han Solo like talking shitness to him. Yeah. And then there's the play. And then you meet Vivi. Oh my God, Vivi. You meet
he's the best.
But then you meet Steiner.
Arguably the best Final Fantasy character.
You meet Steiner, you meet Garnet, you meet all of these wonderful characters, and it's organic and it's fun and it whisks you away like on the adventure. Whereas some games take a long time to start, this one is fun and exciting right away.
So this is kind of the Wind Waker of the Final Fantasy series. People were so against the way this looked, but they made the exact right choice.
I think it's because the characters
looks good.
Because the characters are, I think, shrunken down. That's what people didn't like. They're like, why not regular human proportions? I think that's why, because otherwise the world looks great. They just didn't like that they made them non-human proportions. I think that was a problem.
The painted backgrounds of this game, I'm sorry, are some of the best that have been put into video games ever. Period.
Yeah.
Full stop.
I would argue that this, like the world, like 8's fine, 7's fine, but like the world feels so disconnected with how large it is. But when you're on the world map in 9, it doesn't feel as like empty as some of the other ones do. I just feel like it's, besides, like when 10 came out, whatever, but like this was like the warmest like feeling like environment than any of the other games that had come out before it, or any of other JPRGs, whatever.
This took a lot of, from what I understand, this took a lot of inspiration from even like Pixar movies of the time.
Sure.
It also took like a lot of games at this point. They were definitely more interested in giving people like that raw like action experience, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if think about Metal Gear Solid, which had just come out a year earlier than this, they were so concerned about being adult in this era that they weren't concerned about making like a product that people would actually like.
What I would just drool over the thought of happening is if they were actually made like an old school animated early Disney or like Five Goes West, like animated tale of this, because it would be so perfectly translated.
Studio Ghibli.
That would be.
That's called Ni no Kuni, by the way.
And Dylan, can you explain why Vivi is what you said, possibly the greatest Final Fantasy character of all time?
Super sweet and endearing, like a child. He's very young, but he's also this character who you find out later is artificial. And a lot of his struggle comes from the fact that he has to reckon with this idea that he is not dissimilar from the things around him, but that his experiences actually make him who he is.
Which is a straight up conundrum that, everyone deals with, but it's so perfectly encapsulated into this character. And he's someone that you immediately want to hug, like, because he just like walking through the town and like someone bumps into him, he falls over. I'm like, come on, man!
From the start,
the way he's animated is pure genius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he like the animations in this game. That's also another thing that they totally got right. No more stiff movements. Everyone looks like they were. Yeah, they'll do head flops. They'll jump around.
And I love the character of Steiner so much because he's such a hard-headed, like single-minded. I am doing my job. I'm doing things right. And you watch that like facade slowly like chip away, and you get to the human underneath him. And then when him and Beatrix are having their moments, I'm like, this is so good.
Yeah,
I think maybe some of the later characters fall short. Aiko, I never really cared for too much, and Amaranth is whatever. I think he's
fine.
He was drawn extremely cool to make up for the fact that he was kind of lame.
I think he was
the mandatory monk character.
But Freya Crescent is fantastic.
Freya, so
I genuinely think like the people, they're the characters that suffer in that game. They only suffer because they don't have enough screen time, and that's
I agree.
that's purely on them not having enough design time. That's them not having enough time to do what they wanted to, because I'm sure every single one of those characters had a fully fleshed out thing that they wanted to do, but coding and
these games were made within 2 years.
Yeah.
That's something we have to remember as well.
It's
and
not
then they came out like a year after each other each and every single time. So
it's not a AAA modern day game.
Yes.
It's not.
Well, it can't be anymore.
Like
it can't be, even from like a technological standpoint.
I'm going to throw this one over to Allie. Can you describe Kuja, what his motivations are, and just describe the character of Kuja?
I remember him. He reminded me of a different Final Fantasy villain.
Which one?
Kefka?
Yes, he reminded me of Kefka.
Kefka's a little insane, though.
Well,
you didn't really play six.
Kefka is the Joker.
I don't know. Kefka's got a lot more style than Kuja.
Kuja's a lot more plotting, and he definitely has like this. He's got like this sociopathic, like, I'll wait my time. I've got nothing but time in the world, baby.
Yeah.
why do I remember? It's been so long since I played this game. 'Cause I played it in high school. I just remember him and Zidane having a connection.
I think they were like created from
brothers.
this.
Yeah, they were like,
They were both
like,
genomes.
yeah.
Yeah.
They literally call them genomes, and they're made by Garland. Garland is the father of all of them. They come from a parallel universe.
That's
Does
what I
anyone
thought.
remember this?
It was like some, because you go into that
Garland
weird
from, like,
castle.
2?
It's not the same Garland. He's just
Okay.
named
Oh,
Garland.
he's just
And then, of
named
course, you
Garland.
Believe
played it.
me, I've gone deep dives.
But that's when you said that. I was
know.
just like, oh my god, I need to research now.
And then there's a giant paintball who is the ultimate boss.
Yeah, that was so stupid.
No. Well, he's the ultimate boss. His name is Ozma.
He's not the end boss, but he's the ultimate boss. Or, like,
Necrozma is the final boss, and he's the personification of death, keeping the two worlds apart from each other.
we're going to do an episode
So
someday,
weird.
and it's going to be the final boss of every Final Fantasy game.
I know, you know, and it's funny because how much I remember about this game. There are some things in 8 I forget, but they're like the final part of this of 9 can be a little bit like, okay, what's actually going on, especially once Zidane gets captured and his friends help him escape, which has the best song maybe in Final Fantasy. It's called "You're Not Alone." It's
You were not alone.
and it was sung just
Exactly.
I remember as a kid thinking like, wait. This hot chick is the daughter of Queen Braun? I don't
Yeah.
see
ended
this.
up being true.
But yeah, but I was like, I don't see what's going on here.
And apparently she was nice earlier though, so
Yeah. Yep, she was
she
one.
got corrupted by the crystal's energy.
The dark crystal.
And just like the troupe, the acting troupe, and they're like salt and pepper.
God, I love that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the intro to that game is beautiful. That like the way that you get to learn all of their like weird little quirks and facets and
I cried
and
at the end of this game. Did you?
Final Fantasy 9 is my my Final Fantasy.
Where's my canary?
Yeah.
Melodies of life.
And there's a lot of just
Don't
really
do
not-
that to me.
I will say my favorite part of this game was all the Mogs and the Moogles and just how adorable they are. So my favorite.
So-
and I think there's a lot of really great vignettes, like when you finally meet Sid, the Ladybug King, and then eventually like he gets restored to glory.
Frog. I think he's a frog.
No.
He's a like
Was he a bug?
He's a bug.
Like
Yeah.
like a hopper.
He's a bug
Yeah.
with a mustache. It's
Yeah,
very cute.
so
His
cute.
what? Because he was cheating on his wife.
And when you go to
His
meet,
wife
when you meet
transforms.
Freya's people, and because she's been trying to find a lost lover, and that whole story, I remember just being so poignant.
Yes. And even
Who's
with
dead?
Steiner and Beatrix as well, like when they're
Beatrix, I was like,
I think it was like
favorite of
Bahamut.
those
Is Bahamut like attacking the
stories,
castle and
though.
like Garnet and like the cute little girl with the blue hair?
I forget,
Aiko.
but I just want to
Aiko.
know more about Beatrix. I remember as a kid, like, I want her on my
She's
party.
so cool.
Well, Final Fantasy does a decent job of doing that for sure, of like giving you almost party members where you're just like, oh, but
She does
like,
fight with you at one point,
seriously,
right?
I will happily drop my third string character. Come in my party, please. Like,
But I will say, like, of
This
all
10-year-old
the-
is trying to bang me. I don't use her for summoning that often. Can we please have Beatrix?
Yeah, but I just
She
like
really
that
does love Satan.
all the side
She wants
characters.
that monkey dick, dude.
All the side
Or that
characters
tail.
in 9 had like more going for them than some like the other side characters. Like I don't really care about Selphie and Irvine in like 8.
Essentially,
I like
all
Irvine.
of them.
I know
I like-
I love
come
them.
on,
I
I
love
like
them.
Irvine.
But they don't have like
They
know.
feel more real. They're not even like there's no like.
I want to say
They're
like
more real and less interesting.
well, I was going to
I
say
agree
in
with that,
9
actually,
they
yes.
you have more of an emotional connection to these characters than you do.
It's
in,
more
like, the other
thematic.
ones.
Your connection to them is more thematic, and it's also more archetypal.
Well, I would say their connections to each other as well as more emotional and interesting.
But so those are the top 5 PlayStation 1 RPGs as decided by the Raw Dogs. We have Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy VII, Suikoden
You didn't
2,
even include some of the best ones.
Xenogears, and Final Fantasy IX. There's
no
5.
way to include
There's
all
only
of these.
there's only room for 5.
Yeah.
Well, I played one that's new, and it's for
There
the
can
Switch.
only be one.
But it's not a PlayStation
That's
1
not a
game.
PlayStation.
It was a PlayStation 1 game.
What is it?
Moon.
Okay. We're going to talk about Moon another time because when you bring up a game I've never heard of before and put it in your top 5 list, that has me curious. And
Well, and then
I know
there's,
like
like,
there's
you know.
also like Persona was a PS1 game.
Yeah, but no one's
Well,
played that.
Persona 2, I'm pretty sure, is the one that was on
Yeah, I think the first one was 2, but I
Innocent
think it was
Sin
way less
and
popular.
something else.
If you want to reach out to us to tell us what your thoughts are on your favorite games, if we got anything wrong, we got something to right.
I wanna
Email
play these
You can
games.
correct someone.
email hairofthedogcast@gmail.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram,
Honestly,
Hair of the Dogcast.
Here's the thing. Next episode, actually, of Hair of the Dogcast, there's going to be a whole segment dedicated to questions. So if you're going to send them in now. I will be reading them, and all the Dogcasters are going to answer them.
It's a very Persona 5 Christmas will be our next official episode. We're going to continue the anniversary extravaganza with a Patreon episode that will be available immediately to them, probably somewhere way down the line if we're feeling too hungover to record like Tom does sometimes. We will eventually release this, the continuation, but we're going to be discussing all of the games, the episodes we've done so far. And so reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Dylan, how else could they support us?
You can support us on Patreon. We have multiple tiers. Each of them have their own little benefits that you can indulge in. I would say though that if you give us enough, we will literally take you out on the town. We will
Hell yeah.
spend a whole night with you.
We will break social distancing rules and kiss you on the mouth.
I will get into a hot tub with you.
Oh my god.
And then I'll pee in the hot tub.
I only know of a private sauna, so I can offer that, I guess.
Actually, yeah, we'll use that.
We'll take you to Dubai if you pay enough money.
on
It's
his
true.
brother's flying car.
I know a guy, so
That's perfect.
And so, yes, I've been Brad.
I'm Dylan.
and I'm Nick.
I'm special guest Allyson.
And we're going to keep this party going for you Patreon subscribers. Otherwise, check out everyone else. Check out the very Persona 5 Christmas in 2 weeks. Thanks for tuning in.
Also, peace out. I got to tell you, though, I might actually have some sort of Instagram.
Uh-oh.
I am actually going to put out some of my drawings
This is good.
so that we can connect it.
do you have an Instagram name yet?
My hopefully it is actually this. I didn't check to see if it was taken. It's called Dylan Draws Demons.
Okay. I like that.
That's hopefully what I'm going to continue to do. So
I
I will be doing a lot of the thumbnails for the Dogcast.
So check out Dylan Draws Demons. We'll update you on another episode if that is indeed going to be the name. But thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Vivi's cool. We like Vivi.
I love him.
He's hot, man.
Zell likes hot dogs.